The mistaken abduction. The Dravik prided themselves on precision. For 3 centuries, they had operated throughout the galactic arm as master strategists, their criminal operations disguised as legitimate business ventures. Calculated risk was their currency, and they had grown wealthy beyond measure. Vorthak, patriarch of House Dravik, stood on the observation deck of his family compound, his scaled skin reflecting the amber light of the setting sun. Below him stretched the sprawling estate that housed his extended family, all 200 members of the Dravik bloodline. Their world, Kasva, was a jewel in the contested Rigelian sector, its lush landscapes and mineral wealth the envy of neighboring species. "The operation is ready," Patriarch Krell announced, his second-in-command's voice carrying the distinctive metallic rasp of all Dravik males. "Our team is in position at the Centaurian embassy." Vorthak nodded, his dorsal spines rippling with anticipation. "Proceed. Remember, no violence unless absolutely necessary. The Centaurian ambassador's offspring is our leverage, not our enemy." The Centaurians had been blocking Dravik mining operations in the asteroid belt of Proxima for months. Taking the ambassador's child would force negotiations back in their favor. It was business, nothing more. Krell bowed and departed, leaving Vorthak to watch as twilight cloaked his domain. Something about this operation left him uneasy, but he dismissed the feeling. The Dravik never failed. 12 hours later, that certainty shattered. "What have you doing?" Vorthak's roar echoed through the command center, his spines fully extended in rage and terror. The holographic display showed not the expected Centaurian child with its distinctive blue-tinged skin and cranial ridges, but a small human girl, no more than 7 years old, with dark curly hair and wide brown eyes. Krell stood rigid, his own spines flat against his back in submission. The intelligence was flawed, Patriarch. The human child was in the Centaurian ambassador's quarters. "We believe she is the daughter of Earth's newly appointed representative to the Galactic Council." The room fell silent. Every Dravik present understood the catastrophic error. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely a century into space exploration, but their military capabilities were legendary. They had defeated the Krelvak Armada when the Insectoid Empire had attempted to claim Earth as a colony. The resulting war had been short, brutal, and definitive. "Return her." Immediately, Vorthak ordered, his voice low and dangerous. "We cannot," Krell responded, his scales paling. "Earth has already announced the abduction. They believe we took her deliberately. Their fleet is mobilizing." The holographic display shifted to show real-time footage from orbital sensors. Dozens of human warships were emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the Kasva system, their sleek, predatory forms unmistakable. Earth had responded with overwhelming force. "They'll glass the planet," someone whispered. Vorthak straightened his massive frame. "No, they won't risk harming the child. But make no mistake, they will blockade us until she is returned." He turned to Krell. "Where is she now?" "In the guest quarters of the South Wing. We've provided comfort items and nutrition suitable for humans." "Show me." The security feed revealed the child sitting cross-legged on a cushioned floor, drawing on a tablet they had provided. She appeared remarkably calm for someone taken from her family, occasionally looking around her lavish prison with curiosity rather than fear. "Her name is Sophia Nakamura," Krell informed him. "Daughter of Ambassador Keiko Nakamura and Dr. Marcus Nakamura, an exobiologist." Vorthak studied the small human. "She shows unusual composure." "Humans are unpredictable," Krell observed. "This one has been asking questions about our species. She seems interested, not terrified." A new alert flashed across the display. Earth's fleet had established a complete blockade around Kasva. No ships in or out. Communication channels flooded with a single message in all galactic languages. "Return Sophia Nakamura unharmed, or face the consequences." "We are already under siege," Vorthak observed grimly. A direct return now would appear as surrender, inviting future aggression against our house. What do you suggest, Patriarch? Krell asked. We negotiate, but from a position that preserves our dignity. Vorthak's gaze returned to the child. Ensure she is treated as an honored guest, not a prisoner. I will speak with her myself. Later that day, Vorthak entered Sophia's quarters, ducking his massive frame through the doorway. The child looked up from her drawing, eyes widening at the sight of the Dravik Patriarch. At his full height, Vorthak stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scaled skin a mosaic of copper and bronze, the ceremonial markings of his status etched in silver along his forearms and neck. Hello, Sophia, he said, the translation device at his throat converting his rasping Dravik speech into smooth human English. I am Vorthak. She studied him with remarkable intensity for one so young. You're the boss, she stated simply. The directness startled him. Yes. I lead House Dravik. Are you going to hurt me? No, he responded immediately. You were taken by mistake. You will be returned to your family. Sophia set down her tablet. When? Soon. There are complications to resolve first. The child nodded as if this made perfect sense. My mom says diplomacy is complicated. That's why it takes so long to fix problems. Vorthak felt a strange sense of respect forming. Your mother is wise. She says I should always try to understand other people, even when they do bad things. The Patriarch lowered himself to a sitting position, still towering over the child, but less intimidatingly so. And what do you understand about us, young human? Sophia tilted her head. You look scary, but you're not acting scary. And you gave me this. She held up the drawing tablet. Bad guys don't usually give presents. For the first time in decades, Vorthak felt the strange rumbling sensation of Dravik laughter building in his chest. Perhaps not. Over the next several days, as diplomatic channels buzzed with increasingly tense messages between Earth and House Dravik, something unexpected happened within the compound. Sophia, given limited freedom to move about the family's inner sanctum under guard, became an object of fascination for the younger Dravik. Dravik children, normally kept separate from outsiders, watched the human girl from hiding places. Sophia, sensing their presence, began leaving drawings for them. Colorful depictions of earth animals, landscapes, and human cities. Gradually, the young Dravik grew bolder, approaching her with their own offerings. Strange crystalline puzzles, holographic games, even small pets similar to terrestrial lizards. Vorthak observed this cultural exchange with growing unease and fascination. The child was affecting his people in ways he hadn't anticipated. When he found his own granddaughter, Thessa, seated beside Sophia learning to draw earth animals, he realized the situation had grown beyond a simple diplomatic incident. Your sky is very orange, Sophia was explaining to the entranced Dravik child. On Earth, it's blue. And we have these animals called elephants that are almost as big as your dad. Can they breathe fire? Thessa asked eagerly. No, but they can spray water from their trunks, and they never forget anything. Thessa's scales rippled with excitement, like our memory crystals. Vorthak watched as the girls compared their worlds, finding surprising similarities amid the obvious differences. Something profound was happening here, something that might offer a path forward that preserved both Dravik honor and human life. Meanwhile, in orbit above Kasva, the human fleet had grown to over 60 warships, their weapons systems constantly trained on the planet below. Inside the flagship Indomitable, Admiral Helena Chen watched the tactical display with ice-cold focus. Any response to our latest communication? She asked her communications officer. Nothing new, Admiral. They maintain that the abduction was an error, and that negotiations for release are proceeding. Chen's jaw tightened. It's been a week. The president is losing patience. So am I. Her intelligence officer approached with a tablet. Admiral, we've intercepted some unusual internal communications from the Dravik compound. It appears the child is interacting with the Dravik family members, specifically their children. Show me. The tablet displayed surveillance footage captured by stealth drones. Sophia surrounded by young Dravik, all engaged in what appeared to be play. The human child showed no signs of distress, was well-dressed and well-fed. This complicates things, Chen mused. Mom, if she were being mistreated, our course would be clear. But this, she gestured at the screen. This requires a more nuanced approach. On the planet's surface, Vorthak faced growing division among his family council. The elder members argued for traditional Dravik responses, either a show of force or immediate capitulation to preserve their operations. The younger generation, influenced by their children's interactions with Sophia, advocated for a third path. The human child has shown us something important, argued Vorthak's daughter, Lavasha. Their species is not the warmonger we believed. They are protecting their young, as we would. There is honor in their response. Vorthak gazed at the orbital display showing Earth's fleet, their weapons a constant reminder of the precarious situation. Perhaps, he conceded, it is time to evolve our understanding. That night, he made his decision. The reckoning and resolution. Admiral Chen stared in disbelief at the communication that had just arrived from the planet's surface. It wasn't from Vorthak or any adult Dravik. Instead, her screen showed Sophia Nakamura surrounded by a dozen young Dravik, all wearing what appeared to be friendship bracelets woven from local plants. Hi, Mom. Hi, Admiral Chen. Sophia began, her voice steady and clear. I'm okay. The Dravik made a mistake, but they're not bad. They're scared you're going to hurt them. Please don't. My friends live here. The Dravik children then spoke in carefully practiced English, introducing themselves and explaining how Sophia had taught them about Earth. One by one, they pleaded for peace between their peoples. Unprecedented, muttered Chen's political officer. Chen's expression remained neutral, but her mind raced. This was either the most sophisticated psychological operation she'd ever encountered or something genuinely remarkable was happening on Kasva. Get me Ambassador Nakamura, she ordered. Keiko Nakamura's face appeared on screen moments later, her diplomatic composure barely masking a mother's anguish. When Chen shared the recording, tears welled in the ambassador's eyes. That's my Sophia, she whispered, always making friends in unlikely places. What do you recommend, Ambassador? Nakamura straightened. I need to go down there. Not as an ambassador, but as her mother. The risk is necessary, Nakamura interrupted. Something incredible is happening, Admiral. My daughter might have accomplished more diplomacy in a week than our entire court has in years. On Kasva, Vorthak personally greeted Ambassador Nakamura's shuttle at the Dravik compound's landing pad. The human woman stood barely taller than his chest, yet her presence commanded respect. She wore no weapons, no protective gear, only the formal attire of an Earth diplomat. Ambassador, Vorthak began. His prepared speech was cut short by Sophia's joyful cry as she ran across the courtyard, a trail of young Dravik following behind her. Nakamura dropped to her knees, embracing her daughter tightly as Vorthak and his family watched the reunion with a mixture of relief and trepidation. Mom, Sophia pulled back excitedly. I have so many friends. This is Thessa and Krav and Zolti. She pointed to each young Dravik in turn. Nakamura rose slowly, still holding her daughter's hand. You've been busy making allies, I see. They're really nice when you get to know them, Sophia insisted. And they have the coolest pets and games. I've been teaching them about Earth, and they've been teaching me about Kasva. The ambassador turned to Vorthak. It seems we have much to discuss, Patriarch. What followed was unlike any diplomatic negotiation in recorded galactic history. Instead of taking place in formal chambers with teams of advisors, the talks began in the Dravik family garden where the children played. Sophia served as an impromptu cultural interpreter, explaining human concepts to the Dravik and Dravik traditions to her mother. They don't understand why taking someone's kid is so bad, Sophia explained matter-of-factly. because Dravik children belong to the whole family, not just their parents. But I told them humans are different. And we have learned that humans value individual bonds more strongly than we anticipated, Vorthak added, his translator conveying unexpected humility. It was never our intention to cause such distress. Over the next 3 days, as the human fleet maintained its vigilant watch, Ambassador Nakamura and Patriarch Vorthak crafted an agreement that would transform relations between Earth and House Dravik. The criminal enterprise would transition to legitimate business operations. The Dravik would serve as cultural liaisons for humanity in the Regilian sector. And most surprisingly, an exchange program would be established, allowing young Dravik and human children to learn from each other in controlled educational settings. Your daughter has changed us, Vorthak admitted on the final day of negotiations. She has shown us that adaptation is not weakness, but strength. Nakamura smiled. Children often see possibilities that we adults have forgotten to look for. When the agreement was formally announced, Admiral Chen ordered her fleet to stand down from combat readiness, though several ships would remain in system to ensure compliance. Earth's response was cautiously optimistic, the media dubbing it the Sophia Accord. On their final day on Casva, Sophia and Thessa sat together beneath the orange sky, drawing pictures to exchange as mementos. "Will you come back?" Thessa asked, her scales shifting to the soft gold color that indicated Dravik's sadness. "Mom says I can visit when the exchange program starts," Sophia assured her. "And maybe you can come to Earth someday." Vorthak, watching from a distance beside Ambassador Nakamura, spoke quietly. "We took a human child, and you filled our skies with warships. Yet here we stand, planning a future together instead of ashes." "That's diplomacy at its best," Nakamura replied, "finding the path that leads away from ashes." As the Nakamura shuttle lifted off from Casva, Sophia pressed her face to the viewport, watching the Dravik compound shrink below. Dozens of young Dravik stood in the courtyard, their scales shimmering in patterns they had created specially for her departure, a rainbow ripple that moved through the crowd like a living farewell wave. In orbit, several Earth warships remained as both warning and protection, their presence a reminder of humanity's resolve. But on the planet below, something had fundamentally changed. The Dravik now understood that humans would cross the galaxy with overwhelming force to protect a single child. And yet, that same child had shown them that humans were capable of forgiveness and cooperation when approached with honesty. Word spread quickly through the galactic community. These humans were not to be trifled with, but neither were they to be feared if approached with respect. They were protectors and builders, warriors and peacemakers, a paradox that made them unpredictable but invaluable allies. 6 months later, the first official Dravik delegation arrived on Earth. Leading them was Thessa, now designated as a junior cultural ambassador. Waiting at the spaceport was Sophia, bouncing with excitement to show her friend the blue skies and elephant sanctuaries she had described so vividly. In the decades that followed, historians would point to the Casva incident as the pivotal moment when humanity secured its place in galactic politics, not through technological superiority or military might alone, but through the unexpected diplomacy of a child who saw potential friends where others saw only enemies.